TomoNews presents Epic Escapes.
Crawl to freedom through 5.
Brave teen escapes kidnapping by copying crime movie tricks. Who says you don't learn anything from watching movies and television? This 13-year-old Chinese boy escaped being kidnapped by using strategies he remembered from watching movies where characters were kidnapped. On September 24th, he was on his way to school when the kidnapper grabbed him and threw him in the back of a minibus. The teen was taken to this abandoned building. His hands and feet were tied up, and his mouth and eyes were covered with plastic and tape. The kidnapper called the boy's parents and had them tell them that he'd been kidnapped and not to call the police. He demanded a ransom of 130,000 yuan, or the equivalent of around $20,400. In his first escape attempt, the boy waited for the kidnapper to leave and untied himself, but he was quickly caught and tied up again. Success came the second time when the kidnapper left again. The boy shouted to see if he was still around before getting up and leaving while still bound and gagged. He made it to a residential area where motorists were reportedly too scared to stop, but someone finally did, and the boy was rescued from the ordeal. The kidnapper was arrested the same day at a cyber cafe. He admitted kidnapping the boy and blamed the crime on his financial woes. When asked how he escaped, the boy said, "The movies taught me to cooperate with the kidnapper, to buy more time, and wait calmly until there's a chance to escape."
Murder suspect breaks handcuffs and makes amazing escape. North Las Vegas police released footage on Wednesday of a Nevada murder suspect breaking a pair of handcuffs before using a chair to climb through the roof and escape a police interview room. Suspect Alonzo Perez is seen in the video handcuffed to the table on September 2nd. The clip starts off with Perez looking around the room, his eyes repeatedly going up towards the ceiling. Perez then stands up and starts twisting and applying pressure to the handcuffs, which are attached to a metal bar on a table that is bolted to the floor. According to Police Chief Alexander Perez, the suspect was able to apply enough torque with the help of his body weight to finally snap the hinges on the handcuffs. After getting loose, the suspect is then seen calmly returning to his seat as if nothing happened, with his hand over the metal bar when a police detective checks on him. When the detective leaves, Alonzo gets back to planning his great escape. He uses a chair to remove a ceiling tile, and then eventually climbs into the ceiling and out of the interrogation room. According to the police chief, it was another 25 minutes before the cops realized Perez was gone. Perez then dropped down into the hallway and left the building, before going on to jack a work truck that was left running at a nearby parking lot. Perez was rearrested 3 days after his escape without incident.
Alleged Walmart shoplifter crawls through ceiling to freedom. Now this is one shoplifter who really didn't want to get caught. The saga began last Friday when a guy was stopped by theft prevention officers at a Walmart in Mobile, Alabama. As you can see, he was not eager to cooperate with them. Walmart staff finally dragged the dude into the store's security office and waited for cops to arrive. The alleged shoplifter tried to fight his way out of the office, kicking and yanking at the door, but staff held the door firmly shut. Then after some brief silence, people heard loud bangs. Shoppers pulled out their cell phones after it became apparent that the guy had crawled up into the ceiling in a bid to escape. The guy climbed around inside the ceiling as Walmart staff tried to figure out where he was. Then suddenly, boom! The guy kicked a hole through the ceiling and jumped down, conveniently for him, just feet away from the store's exit. The man then ran out of the store and made his getaway. He has not yet been caught. Following his dramatic escape, employees nicknamed him Spider-Man, but the comic superhero would likely be displeased to be compared to a guy who's accused of shoplifting a hat, a watch, and some underwear.
Pigs make daring escape to avoid becoming bacon. 2 pigs made the front page of the internet this week. No, the other kind. Both pigs rose to fame for their brave escape from trucks en route to the slaughterhouse. The first video, apparently taken somewhere in South America, shows the pig struggle to get on top of the truck. It considers the gravity of the situation. If this works, everyone who ever said "when pigs fly" would have to deliver on those promises. Here we go. 3, 2, Super Pig! Ouch. Okay, that looks like it hurt a little, but that is some terrific, radiant, humble pig. Let's hope a pack of wolves isn't waiting for Babe in the bushes. The second courageous porker comes from Foshan City in China's Guangdong province. This little piggy was going to market, and this little piggy said, "Heck no, I'm out of here." Someone behind the truck was ready with the camera when the piggy made the leap. Nice little air trot you've got going on there, piggy. Trademark. The oinker landed on the hard concrete in the middle of traffic and was able to find its feet. If you like happy endings more than you like bacon, now's the time to stop watching. According to reports, the driver did notice the pig was missing and circled around with his truck. The driver caught the pig, turning its long leap to freedom into a short stroll among traffic. He then carefully delivered the pig to his final resting place.
Who's a clever boy then? This dog proved he's smarter than your average pooch when he broke out of his kennel earlier this week and wandered off into the night. The 10-year-old Great Pyrenees named General was lodging at an animal hospital in Stafford, Virginia, while his owners went to Virginia Beach on vacation. And as you can see from the footage, perhaps he wanted out so he could go join them. At around 4:15 a.m. on Monday, General busted out of his temporary accommodation, then opened at least 4 different doors in his heroic bid for freedom. He'd been staying at the animal hospital for the previous 2 nights, but clearly had had enough. Here we see the 124-pound dog making his way down a hallway, then sniffing around an office area. If General looks familiar with the surroundings, his owner said that's because the clever canine had been visiting the hospital for the past 10 months. Finally, General uses his mouth to open a door that leads him outside to a parking lot. Then off he went into the night. Around 3 hours later, hospital staff discovered General was missing and called his owners. The search for the dog went on for most of Monday. He was eventually found at 9 p.m., around 17 hours after he went missing in action. General was sitting in the garden of a nearby home, happy to be in the great outdoors and out of his cage. The dog's owners cut short their vacation to search for the beloved pet, and they were eventually reunited. So who's a clever boy then?
Inky the octopus escapes from aquarium, back into the ocean. An octopus residing at the National Aquarium of New Zealand made a daring escape from its tank into the Pacific Ocean. After saying goodbye to his fellow tank mate, Inky the octopus decided to go on a journey of solitude. He slipped through a tiny gap left open by maintenance workers at the top of the tank and traveled 3 to 4 meters across the aquarium floor, leaving behind a trail of suction cup prints. Sensing freedom from a small drain pipe, Inky squeezed his body and legs into it and crawled 50 meters through the pipeline until he reached the ocean off Hawke's Bay. Staff members at the aquarium are now closely watching Inky's tank mate, the second octopus in residence since the escape.
A timeline of El Chapo Guzman's well-planned and elaborate escape from prison. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman escaped from a prison in central Mexico on Saturday night, embarrassing Mexican officials who had promised that El Chapo's 2001 escape, achieved with the help of prison guards, would not be repeated. El Chapo Guzman escaped from his high-security prison cell at around 8:52 p.m. local time on Saturday by crawling through a 50 centimeter by 50 centimeter hole located at the bottom of his shower. The 1-meter deep hole connects to a 10-meter long vertical tunnel with a ladder made out of PVC piping that connects to a longer 1,500-meter long horizontal tunnel. The horizontal tunnel includes lighting and ventilation. Security officials also found construction tools, emergency oxygen tanks, wood, gasoline containers, and a motorcycle-powered railway system within the tunnel. The tunnel ends at an isolated house in a nearby neighborhood of Santa Juanita. The tunnel exits inside the unfinished house, which has been under construction since February last year. Mexican authorities have begun a manhunt in the area and are holding at least 30 employees for questioning, including the head of the prison.
Swiss hostage kills guard, makes daring escape from Filipino jungle. A Swiss national held by Islamist extremists for nearly 3 years in the southern Philippines made a daring escape as government forces launched an offensive against the rebels. As the Philippine military fired artillery rounds near the jungle forest where Lorenzo Vinciguerra was being held, the Swiss wildlife photographer, who had been abducted in February 2012, used the distraction to attack his captor. While struggling with the Abu Sayyaf commander for control of his long knife, the 49-year-old wounded his left cheek. When he finally got a hold of the weapon, he reportedly slashed the guard's neck and ran away. Vinciguerra was shot and wounded by another militant, but was later found and escorted to safety by government troops. His companion, Dutch national Ewald Horn, however, remains in Abu Sayyaf custody in the mountainous Patikul town in Sulu province.
Dramatic video shows Quebec prison break 2013. This video was filmed by prison guards in 2013, when two inmates, Benjamin Houdon Barbeau and Danny Provencal, escaped from St. Jerome Detention Center near Montreal. Houdon Barbeau and Provencal coordinated their escape with two accomplices via text messages on smuggled cell phones in the prison. The accomplices hijacked a helicopter and forced its pilot to land on the roof of the prison at gunpoint. In the video, the two inmates seem to be having troubles climbing onto the roof. The chopper then lifts off with the two escapees dangling from the rope, and eventually carries them outside the prison. The four suspects then forced the pilot to land in a parking lot some 40 kilometers from the prison before boarding a getaway car. Hours later, the four were arrested and the pilot was found unharmed.
The manhunt is on for two murderers after their Shawshank Redemption-style prison break. The two killers who broke out of a New York State prison Friday night made an elaborate escape using power tools and left police a taunting note, according to New York Governor Andrew Cuomo.
This is the first escape from the maximum security portion of the institution ever since 1865. So by definition, it was an extraordinary act.
Now the hunt is on for 48-year-old Richard Matt and 34-year-old David Sweat. David was serving a life sentence for the 2002 murder of a Broome County Sheriff's deputy. And Richard was in prison for kidnapping, torturing to death, and dismembering a 76-year-old businessman in 1997. The two murderers were jailed in adjacent cells at the Clinton Correctional Facility, where prison guards perform head counts every 2 hours during the night. But on Friday night, Richard and David stuffed their beds to make them look occupied. They then climbed through holes they cut in the walls and clambered down a 6-story catwalk until they got to a large pipe. They cut a hole in that, left a note that said, "Have a nice day," and followed the tunnel to a manhole just outside the prison grounds. The state is offering a $100,000 reward for information leading to the capture of the inmates. More than 250 law enforcement officials are involved in the manhunt. An investigation is also underway to determine how David and Richard acquired the power tools they used to cut holes in the walls and the tunnel.
New York prison escapees were almost caught twice. New information regarding the Danmora prison break has emerged following the end of a 3-week manhunt that saw one escaped inmate shot dead and another captured. Escaped convict David Sweat claims that he and his accomplice Richard Matt were almost caught twice during the 3-week New York manhunt. On the first occasion, the duo were nearly discovered near a cabin when 3 people came to investigate. Sweat also said an officer walked past him while he was hiding in a public hunting stand. The New York Times reports that Sweat also performed a dry run of the jailbreak the night before the escape. Sweat told authorities he eventually made it out of a manhole 2 blocks from the prison before returning to his cell. Sweat said he and Matt did not use power tools to cut through the 24-inch steel pipe they crawled through and that they used a saw instead. Investigators have been interviewing Sweat to discover more information on the escape and ascertain how he and Matt evaded authorities for so long. Police are searching for 4 inmates who escaped from Caddo County Detention Center early on Sunday morning. The inmates reportedly kept their clothes on and escaped through a maintenance hatch in the shower. After reaching a wall at the end of the ceiling crawl space, they kicked out cement blocks to enter a room on the other side. Then they simply opened a door and walked out. The sheriff received a phone call at around 2:30 in the morning alerting him to the fact that men wearing orange jumpsuits were seen outside the prison. A head count revealed that a few prisoners were indeed missing. These prisoners have been identified as Dylan Ray 3 Irons, Prime Tawan Brown, Anthony James Mendonca, and Tristan Cheadle. All 4 were sentenced for unrelated crimes ranging from carrying a concealed weapon to robbery and second-degree burglary. Well, now they can add escaping prison to their rap sheets. ATM raider escapes Bali court through toilet window. A Peruvian citizen facing multiple charges over a string of ATM robberies on the holiday island of Bali evaded the law on May 16th in a way worthy of an Adam Sandler film by escaping through the courtroom's bathroom window. Jose William Salazar Ortiz and friends Roberto Castro de la Cuba and Franco Pizarro stand accused of stealing thousands of dollars from several ATMs on the Indonesian island. Bali media reports the trio were arrested in January, but their trial just began last Tuesday. After arriving at court, Ortiz asked to go to the bathroom before proceedings began. Once inside, he apparently quickly found his escape route, a small window above the toilet. He made a break for it. Police believe he probably hailed a taxi outside the courthouse and disappeared into the crowded streets of Denpasar. Meanwhile, guards eventually became suspicious and went looking for him, but Ortiz was long gone. The act of incompetence didn't go down well with prosecutors. Police scrambled to try and clean up the mess by filling bus stations, ports, and the Denpasar airport with intercom announcements and wanted posters. And it nearly worked. Ortiz was spotted at Ubin Terman, apparently en route to Jakarta, but by the time police arrived, Ortiz had slipped them again. His whereabouts are still unknown.